Even if I'm early, I don't really care. I just want to be right. Tesla has a huge volume spike that we have not seen since July 21st. This is the largest volume that you've had in about 3 months, and it came on the heels of really bad data. We're going to go through this and several other names that you need to watch for tomorrow. Now, we are going into earnings. Everybody knows that today's CPI was bad. We're going to address it a little bit later, stay to the end, because we're going to do the indexes in great detail. But we just need to talk about this and what happened today. Everybody comes in. We're all expected to go down. We were short, meaning the trading community, we were short. I was short coming into today, and I'll just walk you through it. This was very simple for me. This gap down, this was a really critical line for me. The 209.29 was a critical line. And they started playing games, right? 1, 2, 3, breaks over, reversal, bearish engulfing, comes back down, flips. That was it. We closed it. Now, you're looking at this and saying, well, how high can it go? Well, there's a couple of things that we need to focus on when we're looking at Tesla and saying, how high can it go? So I'm a big believer in pattern recognition, and it took me years to realize this, but I use it in all my trading. I look for situations where something happened before the most recent situation, and then I see if that might play as something else. Let me give you an example. See where you are on the RSI. As you know, I use RSI as a leading indicator. I'll link the video at the end. So you can see where you're at right here at 24. I'm not with a full signal yet, but this bounce is pretty substantial. This volume is pretty substantial. But if I go back and take a look at this particular period of time, the only time that I have close, the most relative time to that is right here, back in May. So if I go and take a look at that, I have a rally, a retest, RSI going up the whole time, and then you have this move before you get to the overbought position. So if you're looking at something like this, I don't know if you're going to get this. We have no idea if we're going to get this. We have no idea if we're going to get this, right? Anyone that tells you that you're going to get either one of those just isn't being honest. But what you do have is you do have a similar situation that has begun. Now, one of the key levels I've been giving people is just watch the 5-day. You have not closed over this 5-day. You're over the 5-day. Now, whether or not you stay there tomorrow remains to be seen. But you have not closed over the 5-day. You have huge short positions, and these people got trapped today. They didn't have a game plan to get out, and this is what they're dealing with. I'll give you another really good example of people that got trapped without a game plan. So here is SOXS, and this is something that you might want to watch the other side of. You might not. I'm not so sure yet, but I do want to walk you through this particular strategy so that you can utilize this strategy in your own trading. So you rallied up. One thing that I will always say, and you'll always hear in these videos, is that bear ETFs, especially 3X bear ETFs, end in tears. So this is what I mean. You come in, you're high-fiving your buddies, everybody's all excited, and then you're counting your money, and then the next thing you know, you're down $17, and you have absolutely no idea what happened. So when you trade these, you must use stops, and you must use levels that are defined. So one of the key things that we notice, and one of the key things that I always use, are upper channels, and you might want to listen to this a couple times. So when we were trading this today, we were long this. I owned some from yesterday pre-market, and then this morning pre-market, I actually added to it as soon as that number hit. So I did fairly well in the trade, but the reason I'm pointing this particular trade out is this is an upper channel. When you hit upper channel lines and you reject, this doesn't get any clearer. It could literally be in a textbook. You come into the upper channel, you form a long-legged doji. We know that dojis are what? Signs of uncertainty. Long-legged dojis are major signs of uncertainty. You undercut that. That was it. That's all. That's it. We're out. Close the trade. That was it. And we closed that 100%. We did exceptionally well with it. Did I know this was going to happen? I didn't have a clue. If I knew this was going to happen, I'd be on the other side of it. I expected this rally to fail like everybody else has for the past period of time. It just didn't. And we actually saw the volume increase going into it. Now, does that mean you should be buying SOXL? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that yet. I would want to see us get maybe above this anchored VWAP from when the Fed hike was. I'd like to see something. But there are names out there that maybe we should start paying attention to. Like if you take a look at Apple, that's a pretty substantial move. That is probably the single largest move that it's had, and maybe all year besides back here. And I always look for examples. So I was trying to figure out what was this move and what was this move. So this move here, this was GDP and personal income that came out that showed us that we had a problem. This is CPI that's showing us that we have a problem. And what happened here during these same periods of time, right? You're always looking for pattern recognition, right? This was the last time we bottomed, and that was another CPI number. But this pattern obviously looks better than this pattern as far as if you're looking for something to replicate, right? So if we look at this, you can see that we ran up to a level that we couldn't believe, that we just had a day where we were up $10 and then we started trading up and we thought it was over, didn't we? And then what do? They undercut us, right? Gap us down, undercut us, reversal. So they undercut it and then flip it and run it over this. And then you take out a high. You could see this. I'm surprised in the action, but maybe some of the action, we'll talk about this in the index, is greater. Maybe some of this action is because now the CPI is behind us. Now PPI is behind us. Now we know there's a 75 basis point rate hike. Now we know there's a 50 in December. There's no way they're going to change course right now with that number today. It's not possible. Now, out of these numbers, core CPI, which takes out food and energy, is up. CPI year over year, up. So again, this is not going down. Core is not going down. Month over month, 0.2 versus 0.4, right? So this is actually going up. CPI month over month is actually increasing. So I think that the fact that this was so definitive that we have a problem, that might be one of the things that we're seeing. I don't really equate any of this to what we're seeing with UK and what's going on over there because nothing has been decided yet. Now, one of the key metrics that I've been instructing people to look at is just watch this band, because this band is everything. In other words, when you're up in here and if you break through 35, you're going to push. Some people felt that this was a tell today because the VIX actually started to come in instead of going up during this period in time. And I get that. I think we needed a little more data to kind of confirm it. And I would rather be late and right. Even if I'm early, I don't really care. I just want to be right. That's the most important part of it, right? So if you see this, I'm not so sure we're done, but I think you're silly not to be looking at this and starting to think about maybe picking at some things when you have a move like this. I'm not saying that it's back and the market's back. There is massive destruction here that we're going to have to get through. But what I'm saying is maybe looking at some long-only ETFs in this area might not be the bad idea to just start scaling into them and seeing how you start doing. The last thing that you really want to see is you have a move like you're going to have in February. You rally up, scale out of some, maybe you hold some, maybe you didn't, and then you rally back up again. So I'm not saying the exact thing is going to happen, but realize that you could bounce from this level on the NASDAQ, okay, all the way up, which by the way closed above the 5-day, all the way up to here, which is 16%. Today, and you would still be in a downtrend. Okay, so you could have a 16% bounce and still be in a downtrend. Now, you have to look at the bad with the good. Last time we were out of the 5 was here, right? Didn't last very long. I don't know what's going to come out tomorrow that's going to change this. I don't think retail sales is going to affect us that much. You are going into earnings season, right? But how did that work out? Well, if you take a look at Taiwan Semi, they had decent earnings. AMAT had bad earnings, but decent earnings were rewarded. Now you stopped at the 5. This chart is far from looking like something you should be buying long term. But my point being is on okay numbers, not fantastic, it still went up. So how much is actually baked in? We just don't know yet. We're going to have to give this some time. Don't be in a big hurry. But I do think you should probably start looking at things like SPXL, seeing how this acts tomorrow. The power of something like this and the move is pretty substantial. So keep that in mind. Now, watch the SPY, watch these levels. This is probably the second largest move we've had, I think, all year. I think the first was, the largest was back here, which was that date that we've been talking about. And I would just focus on this date and how we acted, right? Certain stocks are going to break that and roll back down. Certain indexes are, but this never did. This never broke that low ever again, right? And it didn't break it for about a month and a half before you rallied up, came back down. So something to think about, something to definitely keep on your radar. You do want to watch the TXN and watch how you're doing there. Okay, you got right over today. You got over there and got up to a 406 and you pulled back to a 395 on your yield. That's substantial. So these are the things that I would be watching tomorrow. You are going into earnings season next week. That is going to be extremely volatile, but I do see opportunity. So if you are interested, there is a link to the trading room up here to preview it. Any questions you have or any comments on how these videos could be better or what type of commentary you want to see now, please put in the comments below. That's exactly how I make these videos, based upon what you put out there. That's it, everyone. Have a great evening and trade to win tomorrow.